was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
A kill list was intercepted. It says everyone in this room will be dead. You're number 2 on the list. Well, who's number 1?
An unknown, a civilian.
Look out for Charlie.
I want him down.
All right, I want to talk about some stuff. A lot of people say, don't pay attention to the naysayers, just move along. But I have a different opinion of that. I like to pay attention to the negativity, the outright negativity, to the shills, to the moles, because you get a window into how they think, how they operate, and what they're doing. And I'm constantly contacted by people like this that either attempt to shift my thinking or denounce something that I'm doing. And within the last few years, I've really noticed a very deliberate effort to keep thinking on a certain path. And I want to talk about that because it's very important. But before we get into that, I want to show you what I was talking about before a few videos ago. There was this character, Clara Luna, that posted on the Emily Moyer channel, and she said, or he said, or whatever this thing is, said, do you know who Lookoutfa Charlie really is? Do you know he's a psychopath? I sincerely feel sad for you all, blah, 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 blah. At that point, I began investigating who this person was because the name sounded familiar. And that's when I realized that this person had sent files, like serious files, movie files and image files, to my email inbox, which I didn't open up, on February 6th, another set on February 6th, and then February 16th of this year. So I was like, wow, that's weird. I want to show you how bad these people are at what they do. As soon as I posted some incident at a grocery store some days ago, Clara Luna came back typing in A, and then a bunch of symbols, like trying to slip through in these comments. There's a reason for this. Those files that were sent to me were probably either illegal or something wrong with them. There was a reason for sending me files, right? And then for them to come back after stating this. And this has happened over and over. And this ties into what I wanted to get into. Anytime over the past years that I've gotten into the vibrational, the mechanical, very real vibrational aspects of this signal, people have flipped out. And then you have people that are pushing me to get into SDR sharp, get away from the audio and the vibrational aspect of it, and get into SDR sharp. And SDR sharp is fun to mess with, but it cannot do what I do to audio. It can't do it. What I do is very different. And if people are comparing the two together as though they're the same thing, they're dead wrong. But anytime I start getting into the fact that this is a vibration, people will come in and try to correct that and try to get the thoughts and the ideas back online that it is strictly RF. And the more research I do and the more experiments that I do with this, the more that I find that it is a vibrational signal. It is being transferred into a vibration. And that is what people are trying to hold back. And I've really noticed that over the past 3 years. They are attempting to beat down that information with multiple accounts, whether it's the same person sock puppeting a bunch of accounts or a bunch of people doing this. That is what they are doing. And they are really trying hard to keep this vibrational aspect of it from being looked into. But once I figured out what they were doing and why they were doing that, it just means that I'm just going to investigate it more. And I'm going to look at this more as a vibrational, a mechanical vibration, because that's what it is. It is being transferred into a mechanical vibration. And that's what people are freaking out about. Back in the day when I first used to put up recordings, there was a group of like 3 posters, and it was probably the same person using sock puppet accounts. But they kept saying, you're just close to a repeater, like a ham radio repeater is what they were referring to. And eventually I drove around in my car and picked up the same signal. And then eventually, years later, I did a video on it. People are saying, just close to repeaters? I don't think so. And when I said that, a particular person that used to come to this channel really freaked out about it. And I don't give a shit whether they get mad about it or not. So this person freaked out, saying, you're saying it's not coming from repeaters. And I talk to people in the know, and they say that it is coming from repeaters. Well, first off, prove it. But it didn't stop there, right? They went to my forum right after they asked to review and proofread my book, mind you, and blew up on the forum, starting arguments with me, private messaging the members and saying that borax was bad for them. They had proof. I'm an agent and they need to get off the forum, right? And then they started an argument with me on the forum, but just kept changing the subject about everything that they were talking about. And finally, I was just done with this person. So I got rid of them. They came to my YouTube channel and deleted all their comments, which made other people look like they were just talking to themselves. Then like 6 or 8 months later, maybe even longer, they came back and started commenting again. And then eventually said, I went to go on your forum and I'm not allowed on there or something. You know, is there something going on here? It's like, dude, you came to my forum and said I was an agent, told people to leave the forum, gave them information without proof after they said they had proof. And then they wonder why they couldn't come on my forum anymore. That is the entitlement of some of these lunatics. And then they want to turn around and act like they've been censored or something. But they were in this boat of people who, as soon as it got brought up that this may not be only coming from repeaters, they lost their damn mind and claimed that I was lying and they had caught me in a lie, when they just didn't understand what I was talking about in the first place. Regardless of whether this person was actually part of that or not, there is an effort to keep me away from and people away from the idea of this as a vibrational signal. And it is. I've been saying that for years. It is a mechanical vibration. Somehow this is being transferred into a mechanical, very real vibration. And I am going to get to the bottom of that. I promise you. We are going to get to the bottom of it. And with that said about these trolls, moles, and shills, we'll move on. Now I'd like to talk about the illusions of these weapons and how it works and what it does to people. And the illusion is strong. And it really is. And some people are so invested in it that they lose their minds about it. I was just talking to somebody about this and it reminded me, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. The first thing that I do when I talk to people is I try to lessen their fear of it, because that is the first thing that it should be done. And what they are experiencing is 99.9% of the time totally and completely average. And people are tricked into thinking it's special or different and more crafted than what it really is. So let me give you an example. A long time ago, I was contacted by somebody, and I've heard this story more than half a dozen times. So if you think it's you, it's probably not. I was contacted by someone who told me that they could hear machinery underneath their home. They heard the machinery underneath their home and believed that a tunnel was being dug. They literally believed that it was a tunnel boring machine or something like this, tunneling under their home for like 2 years just to fuck with them. And that is when I try to explain to them that this program can sort of turn people into narcissists. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm saying that it makes people think that people will go out of their way to do things to you that they would never do. They are never going to spend millions and millions of dollars boring a tunnel under your home. And trust me, I've heard this story many times. First thing I did was try to explain to this person that this is a very average, normal thing to hear the hum, the machinery. To some people, it sounds like an idling semi. To some people, it sounds like an idling car. To some people, it sounds like machinery digging, like a factory. And if you hear that and it sounds like it's coming from underground, it will sound like one of those digging, boring machines, right? I tried to explain to them how normal that was. And what I was doing was trying to take their paranoia away, explain to them that this sound was completely normal for people to hear, and that it wasn't real, that it wasn't really happening. And instead of the person understanding it, I was met with violent opposition, like somebody completely freaking out on me about it, losing their minds, calling me names, that it was real and they could hear it. Well, you can hear lots of things in the 21st century. That does not make them real. All right, that's the first thing. But that is how invested some people get. If I was in that position that they were in, I would be relieved to hear that it is common, that people hear it, that it isn't real. And I'd be like, oh, wow, there aren't a bunch of agents digging a tunnel under my house, right? But instead, it was met with violent opposition. So the illusion is strong, and the illusion is very real to some people. In other news, I never thought that we'd have 100 subscribers here, ever. Ever. I never planned on it. In fact, I never checked my subscriber count, really. Once in a while, I'd look at it. But then I started noticing that it was really dropping, like getting shaved off. They were shaving off subscribers. And I decided to make it public so that it could be monitored by other people as well. And when I did that, that's when I started paying attention. And now we have over 10,000 subscribers on this channel. And that's crazy because it's not huge. It's not like it's a huge channel, but I never expected it to have like more than 100 subscribers at the most. So that's pretty nuts. I address this a lot, but obviously I haven't addressed it enough recently. Somebody left a comment just a few days ago, and it said, what about the gang stalking part of it? I do not cover gang stalking, period. Period. There is no gang stalking part to RF weapons. It doesn't matter whether you are experiencing both. There is no physical gang stalking side to RF weapons. And you have to understand that. When you blur the lines between the two, you are not only doing yourself a great disservice, you're making the whole thing appear and sound crazy because they are not the same thing. You can talk about both of them as separate things, but they are not the same thing, even if somebody is experiencing both. I do not cover gang stalking. I will probably never cover gang stalking. But I just wanted to reiterate that as soon as you start talking about physical aspects, you are not talking about RF weapons anymore. There is no gang stalking side to RF weapons and radio frequency weapons in general. None. So that's that. Another idea that's kind of been nudged at me over the past 3 years is, why would it just be AI? Wouldn't they use everything? See, it's my thoughts that they would use everything they had to do this and blah, 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 blah. Have you tried to contact Yahoo lately? Have you tried to contact Google? Have you tried to contact YouTube? Have you called your electric company lately? Have you called your cable company lately? You're going to talk to a computer, an automated system, one way or another. The only time that's not going to happen is if you call a mom and pop shop and you don't get the answering machine. And some of the mom and pop shops even have automated systems now. They are not going to go against the 21st century MO and devise and make a system that needs to be manned and controlled all the time. It flies in the face of the 21st century MO. People have to realize that. It's important to understand what the goals are of the system in the 21st century to understand what is happening now with these weapons. They want it automated in a sense that a person may oversee it, people may oversee it, but it is a set it and forget it type system. So I won't be convinced, and I have never seen an ounce of real evidence that says that there are people involved in this 24/7. You know, back in the day, people used to believe that there were teams of people that talked to them and took shifts doing it. For real. They believed that. And that was the common belief, that there were teams of people talking crazy stuff that made no sense, or sometimes made sense, and took shifts to do it. It's not the case. It's not how it works. Voice cloning tech has jumped leaps and bounds since the 90s. Let's say when Obama is talking to somebody, or when Obama was talking to James Holmes, that wasn't Obama. And it wasn't somebody on the other end with a voice cloner to sound like Obama. Back in the day, they could use a live crew for a short period of time, a short window of time, to attempt to get the person to do something. But now, this system can go on its own. The training wheels are off. It doesn't need that anymore. And it hasn't needed it in years. My main point in this video was to say that there has been a serious effort to keep this in the RF spectrum and stay away from the vibrational spectrum of this. And that's what I'm going to start getting more into, is the actual vibrational area of this signal and the way it operates. Because even in the very beginning, my detectors that I used picked up very, very light seismic activity that followed the actual pulses. And when it's quiet in a home, these ELF pulses will swell up so that it can rise up on that sound. It is just the way it works. And I know that it's the way it works because that is what I look for when people send me recordings to go through. So in the future, I'm going to be getting more into that. And let me reiterate to those who aren't getting it, that my house, when I was doing these tests, my house is not special. This signal is everywhere. I was not hearing it. I'm picking it up and recording it scientifically. So it's not as if I'm claiming that just my house was under attack. Every area is being surveilled because this is a surveillance system first and foremost, but it is a weaponized surveillance system. You have to understand that. When I'm talking about the experiments that I do in my house is not special. My area is not special. This signal is everywhere, and I have documented it everywhere. And that's important to understand. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh, man. I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.